Hello, and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni, and this is Danny. And for the week of May 15th through the 21st, the sun is in gate 8 and the earth in gate 14.
The whole movement from where we were before, going through gate 2 and then 23 and then to 8, the movement makes such good sense. But this is going to end up being the cross of contagion, and you're going to appreciate how 14 and 8 help empower our movement.
Super cool. Well, Thank you to everyone who's watching and liking and subscribing. It really helps us out, and let's dive into it. Here we have our mandala view, and the sun is in gate 8, which is contribution, and that is a throat center gate. And the earth is in gate 14, which is power skills, which is a sacral center gate.
Yes, the sacral and the great abundance of 14 to get and drive work to be done. It's abundant with its energy to basically build a civilization, is what it would like to do. And that's the contribution that gets spoken through gate 8. And gate 8 has this interesting collective feature that its contribution cannot even get anywhere near being for the highest good until it empowers the other for the highest good. And so it demands to be shared, even though it is still a gate of empowerment. And this contribution is a manifested process. So 14 is almost a manifester here in gate 8, and gate 8 is almost a manifester coming through gate 14. This contribution ends up being a contagion, because as the 14 starts getting the work done, it can't help but to empower 8 to make everyone else want to come along. I mean, that's what's happening here. 2 unique gates empowering everyone, just having got off of the 1 and the 2. I mean, the 1 and the 2 to the 43-23 to 8 and 14. It's all this individual motion. It's incredible.
Super cool. So here we have the sun in gate 8, which is holding together in the gate of contribution. The basic worth realized in contributing individual efforts to group goals. Gate 8 is a throat center gate, part of individual circuitry. So think empowerment as your keynote, and it's part of knowing circuitry specifically. Gate 8 links up with gate 1, which is self-expression, and the 1-8 is the channel of inspiration. Gate 8 has a voice of, I know I can contribute. And the contribution is either through public display of your own individual style, direction, or creations, or by empowering and publicly promoting others. Gate 8 is drawn toward novelty and innovation, attracting others' attention, such as a gallery owner or an art agent. It must be recognized and invited to publicly display and endorse what you know to be of future value.
Yeah, and the contribution it wants to make is, I mean, it really wants to make this contribution. It's humanity's proclivity, genetic proclivity, to finally finish the story by making the contribution. And that contribution comes off of gate 1, right? The uniqueness, the gate of inspiration, the yangest of all gates, driving and inspired for the inspiration's own sake. Uniqueness, our unique expression of self, is what's being contributed. That's the first contribution, is unique expression of self. And the second part of the contribution is that it empowers the other, because it was really cool, it was needed, it was something. And if it's the right thing with the right timing, it becomes contagious. That was cool. Do you see what they got? Yeah, cool. Let's get that too. It's contagious.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like the 1 as the artist and the 8 as the art gallery, the promoter who's going to share it. And then, yeah, especially together. Yeah, if you know someone at the 1-8, it's like they have such a personality that can come out, and they don't even know where it comes from, but this personality just comes out, and it's absolutely contagious. It's such a fun energy to be around.
I think so. Yep. And the attention that it gives to the other, like you're saying, this public display. This is all empowered by gate 14 on the other side. It's the perfect juxtaposition.
Here we have the earth in gate 14, which is possession in great measure, and the gate of power skills. This is the accumulation and retention of power through skilled interaction, coupling grace with control. Gate 14 is part of the Sacral Center and individual circuitry, so empowerment as the keynote, and it's part of the knowing circuit specifically. Gate 14 links up with gate 2, which is the receptive, and the 14-2 make up the channel of the beat. Gate 14 empowers direction for the individual and humanity through the distribution of available resources. This is fertile power at its most exalted. This is the gas pedal that controls when and how resources are released. And when it's aligned doing loved work, it will generate wealth and power. These resources are yours to manage to empower others, support individual creativity, charitable activities, and leaders with a vision for humanity's future.
Well, the funny thing about 14 is, so 14 and 2 as a channel, the channel of the beat, have this great synergy together. 2 is in a hurry. 14 would like to help it step on the gas. The direction is yet to be determined, but given that we just came off the Sphinx with 2 and 1, the direction is a creative direction because it's an individual gate, and it's towards beauty and communion and the filling of the human spirit for all. Essentially, that's the direction 2 wants to go. Aesthetic beauty, communion with the other, and the capacity of the filling of the spirit for all. That would be the ideal place for it. That's 14's abundance, is to do the work that keeps driving that possibility. So it's got a friend in the sacral, this whole process. And again, I find it so interesting how intertwined these last 4 transits were, because it started with the 4 ways, and that was gate 24, an individual gate, to gate 2 and 1, 2 individual gates, 23, 43, 2 individual gates, and back still. So this whole quarter of civilization, we just got out of mind, and civilization got a giant kickstart with a ton of individual uniqueness. And that doesn't fully sound like civilization, does it? Civilization feels a little bit more like a tribal collective effort, Collective's got plenty of stuff to say. Tribe is making sure everything works, at least. But no, civilization is here to aid the unique consciousness of humanity. And this contagion, this 14 people really want a gate 14. If gate 14 comes into the business or comes into a thing, if it's even, partway literate and can represent itself, the people interviewing that person, they want that. And it shows up all the time. They want that, and for good reason. And if they're on this cross, they want it, and the other is contaging them with the voice that says, I can contribute what you want. I mean, it can give the people what they want. It better do it according to its strategy and authority, and as its nature would keep it feeling good about all of that, or it'll be miserable. Because once it starts, it's going to have to do some of that work. So be careful what you start into. And we should talk about that when we get to the end of these slides, because gate 14 will get you doing all the work you don't want to do. And it has a melancholy that it'll never end doing the work. And why will the work never end? And how come I can't seem to get the work to come to an end? When if you could just realize whatever work 14 is doing, it's fine. You don't have, it's always worried that it's not at the end of its work and there's more to be done, and they work too much. 14 could almost turn into a workaholic. So strategy and authority, so that you don't find yourself doing what you don't want to do, because this will pull you right in abundantly, in great measure, with a possession of a ton of energy that will totally anchor you into that way that you didn't want to go, that you find out later. So be careful of that.
That makes a lot of sense. 14 as individual generative life force energy in the direction of beauty, powering the direction of beauty.
Yeah. Line 1 of gate 2 is called aesthetics or something like that. It's about the aesthetic beauty of things that it would just prefer to hurry up and get to. So that movement is asking the 14 to lend its fuel so that movement can hurry up and get there already. And that's why this is such an exalted energy. In the I Ching, every line was exalted for 14. There was no detriment or this or that. It was just all exalted. Everything was hooray, 14, with abundance and great measure, the abundance of energy to drive and move that direction. So if you got it on the move and you're contributing it with your voice, because out it comes, again, this speaks to contagion and the whole contagiousness of something moving. Let's face it, who doesn't like it when things started getting moving? You know, we're on the project and finally it's getting going. It's taking shape. 14 is the gate of it taking shape finally. And gate 8 is, see, I told you, it's taking shape. Isn't this great? I'm giving it to you. And that's the contribution that it makes. And so you need all of that to build a civilization. And you need all of that from having just explained everything from before, which you need all those explanations from having just gone through gates 2 and 1, which were pure creativity in that direction towards beauty. So you see how this individual unique process informs exactly how we move through this portion of the wheel and in mutation when we get over there. So civilization was unique business that then got handed off to the collective.
Why is it
Oh,
called the channel of the beat?
you
Because
know,
I think
that's
of like rhythm.
yeah, I do too. I find that to be a throwback. The beat was like a cop walking the beat.
Oh,
So it's just a totally different thing. And the keeper of the keys was that cop that had, in the olden days, cops had big fistfuls of keys
hmm.
because various
I've
business
seen the
owners,
cartoons.
yeah. And so the keeper of the keys, gate 2, and the channel of the beat with the energy of the cop. And so the cop had the energy to be on the beat and go through the whole night with it, basically. And he
Okay,
had all the keys.
that makes a lot of sense because I've always wondered. I was like, that sounds like a rhythm, a beat of a drum, and I'm like, I don't think that's what that is because that sounds like 15/5. So super
Yeah,
cool.
right. Yeah, that one, I still don't really, I would pick a different keynote necessarily because that's dated, the one that it is a dated keynote.
I like Ra's stuff
Yeah.
where like I like understanding like what was behind him naming that. Here we have our incarnation crosses for the week. First up, we have the right angle cross of contagion, which adds the 30 and 29 to the 8 and the 14. And these are people who lead by example and desire to make a contribution by committing resources towards ensuring future security and wealth. It's a civilizing example that impacts others. Then we'll move into the juxtaposition cross of contribution, which adds the 55 and 59 to the 8 and the 14. And these are people fixed on contributing to society in some creative, intimate way, like getting married and spending years restoring an old, rundown estate together. And finally, we'll move into the left angle cross of uncertainty, which also adds the 55 and the 59. And these are people who step into the mutative uncertainty of turning energy into form. You need the right spirit and right material resources to try.
I just love this whole movement into the spirit. Again, I remind everyone we're in the quarter of civilization. This is the great building of the whole thing. Everything that we are is in this, that is around us, that we live amongst, is this quarter. And it says that the spirit has to enter into the game early on, within the first 4 hexagrams. The spirit has to enter in somewhere along the way in order to justify that the right civilization is there. And again, this quarter is loaded with individual, unique beginnings because 55 is here. So, of course, that's going to be there. And then I love the civilizing examples that impact others. Well, be aware that 39 and 20, and I mean, 30 and 29, 30 civilizing is sometimes right on the edge of all that civilizing. So be aware of that. It is contagious, it is unique, it is freaky. And the feelings of that person that then suddenly start to persevere because of gate 29, that might be right on the edge of what is civilizing or not. But that's what humanity's here to find out. The contribution part is just the sweetest thing in the juxtaposition. Better find the right partner. Um, and the uncertainty is the keynote, one of the keynotes of Gate 55 itself. I mean, you could read it into all of these gates, at least 29 maybe, but 30 is loaded with uncertainty. It's afraid of the fates. That's the definition of certain amounts of uncertainty. And 55 spirit is fickle. What is it? What is it good enough for me? Do I keep poking at it? Am I really contagious about any of this? So these people do step into a mutative uncertainty, but the uncertainty is couched in this whole movement where we started in gate 2 and sort of conclude here with these first 4 crosses, and the building of everything that we live amongst right now, brought forth by, bookended by the spirit. So this is just special here. This whole thing is special. This movement makes sense.
Finally, we have our hexagrams. So the sun in gate 8, which is contribution, or in my I Ching book, it's seeking union. And the trigrams are water over earth. And the image reads, above earth is the stream, seeking union. The ancient kings founded countless cities for relationship with all the feudal lords. The streams flow together naturally over the earth. People too have their natural confluences. The ancient kings strengthened these by building cities near the rivers, perhaps following the contours of the landscapes. You can support and commit to your relationship in the same way, recognizing their natural flow and working with it.
And building things along the way like you would expect in the quarter of civilization. And this, what was the thing under contribution? It was
Seeking union.
Seeking union, yes. That whole seeking union is the act of making the contribution. That's who you seek the union with. And let the water flow on the earth, ultimately. I like water as stream on this example, instead of water as ocean or lake or something.
And then we have the earth in gate 14, which is power skills, or in my I Ching book, it's great possession. And the trigrams are fire over heaven. The image reads, fire dwells above heaven, great possession. A noble one ends hatred and spreads the good. She yields to heaven and rests in her mandate. The stars move in their courses in accordance with natural law. A noble one has an inner awareness of creative reality and carries this through into insight and clarity in living. The greatness of the cosmos is that it works as it should, and so her task is quite simple, to allow it to be, remove obstacles and work with it. Hatred would only waste energy resisting reality. Spreading the good aligns with the natural order. The sun does not struggle to rise up into the sky, it just rises. In the same way, because a noble one assents to what is and yields to heaven, she can rest in her work.
Fire is the heaven I get, but fire is the word I would more apply to gate 14, just generally speaking, because gate 14, like gate 2, is in a hurry. And it wants to burn that generative energy. And if that generative response is the correct response for those people, that person, well, that's a good thing. I mean, that's incredible fire. 14 wants to go to work towards a group goal, towards something that will empower the direction. Like 40 just doesn't mind going to work for just straight up affection. It's not that 14 won't appreciate the affection. That's part of the currency of our planet now. But affection schmection, it's trying to get somewhere, It's like, yeah, give me a hug later. I'm still trying to get somewhere, and that's where it'll go with all of this. I don't fully understand the fire over the heaven part. Maybe you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, so fire in the I Ching, fire as a trigram is about burning away and like creating clarity, like burning away the old, old lumber, the old dry stuff, the old stuff that doesn't serve a purpose. You burn it away to get something new. And then heaven is that like spark of creativity from above. So there's a lot of movement here within these trigrams. It feels like, heaven, fire, it feels very spark. It feels very new, clarity, creativity kind of energy.
Okay, well, that brings it in. 14 is heaven when it's working right. And gate 8 is the explanation of all of that. And so again, when you add in the whole cross with 30 and 29, the perseverance to allow it to be shaped by the feelings of that person. And those feelings then get shared. And in the sharing of that, they get filled up, knowing they're going to be touching 55 soon and having a spirit of it all. And let's push a direction towards all of that. Let's push a direction towards all of that. And I find that amazing. And that builds civilizations along the river, like the wise man did, or wise one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's super cool. And I love like the idea of like water over earth and contribution makes sense because how many things are carried over water to contribute to bring them other places. So yeah, looking at the trigrams is really fun. I enjoy it. So tying it all together, what can we tell our audience? How are they going to see these energies pop up? How do they play with it?
Well, you're suddenly going to feel like you're not doing enough. That's what might happen when we come into these gates. Don't fall prey to that. If you already have these gates, you won't notice it as much. But if you don't, I don't have either one of these gates, I will likely fall into the pressure momentarily without realizing it that I'm not doing enough somehow. And I'll have this longing, because don't forget all of these individual gates. How much individual gates did we have on the way here? We had 8, 10, 12 in the first 4 hexagrams, a ton in these crosses, and they all come with melancholy. 14 is I'm sad because my work doesn't bring me anywhere that I can tell. I'm not sure because it doesn't have gate 2 necessarily to say, yep, we're in the right direction. And gate 8 is melancholy, is I did the work, I'm trying to contribute this, and I'm just a voice in the wilderness. I can't make my contribution, and that's a big deal. So I got to do more work to be able to make my contribution, to fill the feeling that I have in gate 30, and I want to persevere at all of that in gate 29, and it can leave people a little bit of a head trip thinking I'm supposed to do more. I mean, we already have that as a basic way in our pressurized, still 7-centered world that's trying to turn 9-centered, right? I'm not doing enough, I need to do more. That's what, with that being the case, it's easy to magnify during this time. So what to do with it is, that's not your pressure, that's not true, although it may feel true, but it doesn't mean don't let it make you do more. So now is the time to get a little bit carried away, and also the unique things that maybe you might think you finally want to contribute in one way, shape, or form, be it ideas or words in a conversation, whatever it is. Let the freaky flag fly. Let it out, because the contribution, it's supposed to wait for its timing, right? Projected channel. But the contribution is to empower people. So sometimes it can't wait for the right timing. It has to take a chance. That's part of our learning, expression of our learning. There's no harm, there's no crime there. So allow yourself the grace to not be in the right timing, and see what happens when you try to contribute and nobody wants to hear it. You'll find out very much who's in your corner and who's important in your life. Now's a good time to help shake out important people in your life. Ferret out who those ones are, and sort of, you'll see very clearly the people that love you more rather than less, because they'll receive your contribution, whether they take it or not. They'll at least receive it. You'll feel at home with that.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting with 14 as that sacral energy and buzz. So notice, if that lights you up, you'll have more of that energy and enjoy it when it pops up. And also, if you're an undefined sacral and now all of a sudden you got some sacral juice coming in, I always find I need to lay down way more frequently when my sacral is lit up through a transit. So it's like I could do more when I'm up and about, and then I need to lay down more in order to discharge it and have that balance. And that's interesting also with gate 8 as a projected channel, and the bitterness that can come through. I have something to contribute and no one's recognizing me and inviting it. And
it's my uniquest expression.
Yeah.
Don't exactly. You love me enough? It's my uniquest me,
Yeah, it's an individual gate from the identity to the throat that's coming from the heart of who you are to express itself. So yeah, that's really interesting in kind of understanding it. And also, I always go back to, especially as a projector, is don't throw pearl before swine. So it's interesting with you where you're see what happens, contribute, even when it's the wrong timing, and see what happens, and play with that experiment, as well as the experiment of, I have something to contribute that's worthwhile enough that I'm not just going to spit it out. And I'm going to wait until I am recognized and invited with the right people. Because, man, that bitterness can bite. Bitterness, it's the opposite of sweetness. It's bitey. It'll rip you apart, and it can be really tiring. And maybe just because I am a projector, I don't want more bitterness in my life. I need to wait for correct timing. Yeah, I think those experiments can be painful, man. So That's really interesting of
I
like,
have to confess, I don't care if I wait for the right timing sometimes.
oh, I
And I
know.
learn a lot from that.
I know, I've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. You have seen it. Well, I learned who doesn't, if
Well, you're a manifesting generator, so you'll skip the step of waiting for the right timing.
yep, yep. Now, if I take that personally, then I'm off track. And if I just be like, oh, I've skipped a step, well, it's okay.
I mean, that's all you
Even if
can
it
do.
feels bad, even if it feels bad in that moment, it's like, hey, what the hell? But it's still, it's not that big a deal.
Interesting. With the projected nature, and I wonder, like, bitterness for a generator to feel it in a projected channel compared to projectors, there like a
I feel
difference
it.
there. Yeah, but it's like I wonder the qualities of those kinds of energy. It's like because I could feel frustration, but it is different, and it's amplified in a way. So it's like, do you get more bitterness out of it, or
I can, you know something? I can actually speak to that quite directly because I have 5 channels in my body graph, and 2 of them are projected, the others are generated. And so I know where my 10 to the 20, I know that if I'm not loved right now, I can tell, and it leads me to say things like, I love you, but I love me more. And I get bitter about that. And then my projected channel 64, 47, and from the head to the ajna with all the confusion. If I have a realization that shows up in 14 in gate 43, ultimately that comes through as a unique insight, but it starts as that confused realization, and I get turned off, and everyone turns off for it. It can make me get to feeling bitter about that, no question. And it comes out in a frustrated way, and frustrated energy starts to try and pour out, but the sense it starts as a type of that bitterness.
interesting.
Hmm.
Super neat little aside. But yeah, that's really interesting also is like the earth in gate 14 and grounding ourselves within our skills and that which would empower our direction towards beauty. So grounding ourselves in those kinds of skills and developing those kinds of talents.
Developing, yes, because especially the skills you don't have, you think you don't have them. These don't all equate to I have the skill to work a die machine, and I have the skill to crochet, and I have the skill to put slides together. This works I have the skill to think about the thing and feel it moving because it's the sacral gate's going to make it move one way or another. So allow new things to pour through now. Allow new things to pour now. We've been on a crusade of individuality for like a month at this point. You know, try something new. Take a wild ass chance and try something new that you have a total parachute for. So you don't take a chance with everything, but take some social chances. Find out what's going to be the thing that needs to be contributed by you, and who won't let you, and who will. This is a discovery process as much as it is a doing process, I would say.
Yeah, it's a like ground ourselves in our skills for us to then be able to shine our contributions in correct timing when
Mhm.
recognized and invited, and strategy and authority always.
Indeed, strategy and authority shall lead the way. Your type, your definition, your strategy, your authority, this leads the way. So I feel good.
Great. Good stuff. All right. Well, thank you, Danny. Thank you to everyone who is watching and liking and subscribing. Do us a favor if you get anything out of our videos, hit like and subscribe. It really helps us. And we will catch you next week for another transit.
Catch you next week, everyone. Much love.